This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, and I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, host Jason Glick, how are you?
I'm doing just fine, John. How are your holidays going?
Oh, they're holidays. so, yeah, they're fine. How about yours?
Oh, mine are fine. I get to see my sister, my brother-in-law, and the kids, and spend time with a lot of the family. It was like my Christmas is good, and New Year's is going to be at this point probably a considerably more muted experience. But otherwise, hey, it's like things are going good right now. I'm on vacation from work, and I'm catching up on all the games that I've been acquiring in the last couple of months too.
Ah, that helps. Catch up time. All right, so cool.
Yes.
So what do you have for us tonight in the world of comics, sir?
Okay, well, as I promised everyone at the end of the last pod, back to the inexhaustible well of stories that is Garth Ennis. Now, longtime listeners and readers will know that I think Ennis is one of the comic book writers we've got. It's like working in the industry today. He may not be as prolific as some, but the man has turned out a steady stream of comics that have ranked among some of the best we've read in recent memory. Now, Ennis does have his certain hobby horses. I mean, he loves the military, like glorifying the work of soldiers over the people, over the idiots who command them. He's an avowed atheist who basically he said that if God shows up in his work, he's either non-existent or a complete bastard. And he also has a distinct distaste of superheroes. Just the fact that how they've come to basically define modern American comics, like that kind of annoys him like more than anything else. Even though like he himself has managed to carve out a pretty successful career that doesn't necessarily involve them. Mind you, yes, he has written the definitive run on Marvel's Punisher. However, he himself is basically called the Punisher himself, as basically a British character, the kind who kills his villains as opposed to just letting them live in order to come back and fight another day, than anything else. Now, it's this distaste of superheroes that I'm coming back to with his latest series, The Boys, which wrapped up earlier this month and the final volume came out in print as well. Now I was like, Ennis is basically said the whole reason he hasn't been able to get into superheroes is just because he didn't live in America. He didn't grow up reading superheroes, and he didn't acquire that necessary suspension of disbelief that the rest of us have in order to properly appreciate them. Now but the thing is, like, whenever you read his stuff, be it his DC work in Hitman, say when he had Tommy Monahan puke on Batman's shoes, made a laughing stock out of new Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, or in his work in Marvel Universe with Punisher, where he had Spider-Man beaten down by the robo-transvestite version of the Russian, and had Wolverine in a grossly over-the-top caricature of himself, and having get shot in the shotgun and then run over with a steamroller. It's like Ennis, like his distaste and disrespect of superheroes is stuff of legend throughout his work. However, with The Boys, though, the immediate feeling you get with this is that he decided to take a minute and stop and wait, no, it's not enough to just hate superheroes. I just have to really what can I do in order to really give my distaste and distrust of them meaning? So with The Boys, Ennis has created a world where superheroes are part of the fabric of life. They're just on the surface, they're just on the surface, it's just like Marvel and DC universes. They're bright, colorful characters who have abilities greater than those of normal men who go around fighting crime, stopping supervillains, and they've got their own comic book lines as well. In order to give us the nice proper versions of what their exploits. Because in reality, it's like when you get down to it, these superheroes are just it's a huge god-awful celebrity culture. Well, so they may appear to be paragons of virtue on the surface, going off to fight supervillains, fighting off invasions every month or so. It's like they're also prone to indulging in any excess that celebrity will allow, particularly the sexual variety and the drug-fueled variety. and like they'll just like they're always want to take things a bit too far. Enter into this the boys. The boys are a CIA backed group of enhanced humans who go around basically telling the keeping the superheroes in line and letting them know when it's like when they've gone too far. It's run by William. It's like by William Butcher, Billy to his close friends. Second in command, Mother's Milk, who is actually a superhuman himself because he gets his powers through breast milk. Don't ask; it's one of the series' weakest parts. And you've also got Frenchie and the female, like the two, the muscle of the group, who are like one's a complete. They're both nutters. They're one is like One is like basically, even though he's completely, he's thoroughly French. He also feels kind of like Ennis's apology to all the France jokes he's made throughout made in his earlier comics. And there's the female who almost never speaks in the comic, but she's a quiet, short Japanese girl who was the origin is more akin to aliens than anything else. And then there's Huey. Huey is the boys' newest member, and he winds up joining their group after his girlfriend was killed by one of the superheroes, A-Train, a speedster. He was just taking out one of his routine supervillains, and he wound up just like plowing right into Huey's girlfriend as they were just like twirling around like hand in hand, and Huey was just left holding her hands right there, left in utter shock after A-Train plowed through him and just sped off after confirming that okay, everything's taken care of. I gotta go now. Bye. So Butcher sees in this guy sees in Huey someone who's been affected by the utter indifference of superheroes, and goes and recruit him to the boys. Now that's how the series begins, and from there we get all sorts of like decadence, like when the initial story arc where we Teenage Kicks, the teen group of superheroes that essentially got the series kicked off from DC because after its publisher at the time, Paul Levitz, said no, we don't want something like this. That's basically just mocking and deriding our product in this way. It's again, it was eventually kicked over to Dynamite. But then you got this showing you the utter decadence, how they just fuck a bunch of whores, do a bunch of drugs, have sex with each other, male and female, and just the thing about the boys is it is all the series that Ennis has done. This is probably one of the filthiest and most disturbing that he has. I mean, Ennis is always pushed the envelope in terms of violence and even the sex in this. In comics, I mean, some of his stuff in Preacher, and the Punisher is, but the boys though, it's to that to even an even further degree, because I mean people's heads are exploding. People people are getting they're being punched right through their spine. All sorts of weird, creepy sex, with hamsters up people's butts. It's stuff. It's child molesting, and I'll get into that later. Good God! And it's so filthy, so disgusting that if this is your first series by Garth Ennis, I can imagine a lot of people just being completely turned off by the sheer amount of sex and violence on here. Because on one hand, with Ennis isn't having to comport himself to the limitations that Marvel and DC ascribe. Because even in Vertigo and Marvel's Max imprint, there are still limits to what they can do with violence. With Dynamite, you get the feeling that they just said that they let Ennis just go completely wild right here. And to be honest, it's letting Ennis go completely wild is not. It's not generally a good idea, because I said, talk about because Ennis, I mean, the series does reek of self-indulgence in the fact that he's just taking his hatred of superheroes to a whole other level right here, and at the same time, and on one hand, it's like, yeah, it's and that does involve a certain amount of world building, but at the same time, like he's just going, oh, superheroes are bad. It's like I'm just gonna go and shit all over them. But overall, it's like thing is like even with all this with all this indulgence to violence, sex, and his utter hatred for superheroes, Ennis still actually manages to pull out some worthwhile material in this series, and that primarily stems from his level of character development he shows throughout the course of the series. Because Huey, I mean, even though he's essentially our point of view character, and he's the one member of the boys who is essentially a decent being at heart. It's like we find this out, just like in his own solo series, Highland Laddie, which has Ennis part of his most sophomoric and his. When we reconnect with Huey's former childhood friends, one of whom is now a transvestite, the other one who just smells really bad and wears a gas mask all the time. It's like that's utterly ridiculous stuff. But at the same time, we find out that Huey just he was just like a nice kid who just kind of got kind of like a raw deal throughout his childhood. And even with Mother's Milk, we found out that he was a victim of the corporation behind that manufactures all the superheroes, Vought American, and that he was his superpowers just more a victim of circumstance than anything else, and how his dad eventually cost him his life to try and get reparations for what was done to them. Then Frenchie, not so much. The female, it's the Japanese side of things. But even with those two, it's like basically caricatures for the most part. They still manage to emerge as as more than one-dimensional caricatures over the course of the series. As the Frenchie tries his best to basically render the female, who is introduced as nothing more than a complete psychopath who's just doing mob hits. Of the most brutal variety when we meet her, and Frenchie's just trying to find a way to hey, there's more to life than this, and he's and even then it's even though it's kind of ridiculous the ways he goes about it, it's it still manages to have some meaning at the very end when we find out their final fate. And then there's Butcher. Butcher is essentially a variation on on Ennis's combat veteran who is having, on one hand, he is having way too much fun to stop. The kind of guy who is in charge of everything. He knows what to say in every situation. He's got a plan for every contingency. He's smart. He's smart, and and he hates heroes more than anything in the world. Now, that's how he starts off as. But as things go on, you find out he's much deeper than that. Especially in the volume 10 when we get his whole story, we find out that he is a hugely violent individual who was about to kill his dad at one point because his dad was a complete and utter bastard who would just like to beat his mom for no good reason, but he'd be able to stop by his younger brother. And that's one of the reasons why he recruited Huey, because he figured that, hey, this he's a decent individual, and he's also my younger brother. Stop me. Keep in mind, because there'll be a quiz on that at the end of the series. But then we also find out that he eventually found a beautiful woman who was able to eventually just show him that there was more to life than just than violence and drink, and basically show him that there is. Like they say, he could be more than what he was. And she was raped by a superhero and gave birth to a superpowered fetus who killed her. And that set Butcher off. It's on his dire quest for vengeance. Stuff like overall, the level of character development that Ennis invests in his people, in his cast, is really what makes the series worth reading, and also the fact that Ennis really plays the long game in terms of plotting. Because I think more for his series, but he was really setting things up for like he really knew how this series was going to play out, like from beginning to end. Like, I mean, stuff like with Butcher's motivations in the final arc, as he comes upon a way to finally kill off all the superheroes, and how it ties into what has come before in previous storylines, or in the real revelation of who raped Butcher's wife, and that giant twist that was in the next last volume. Stuff like that. It rises above the filth and murk that permeates the series, and really, and ultimately, said, even though, and this is and this in my book will always be remembered for Preacher, for Punisher, for Hitman, those are his holy trinity. The boys will always be behind those, but even then, it still has its merits thanks to its storytelling it involves, and also it's also another one of his assaults on the not really the military industrial complex, but just the corporate culture of America in the company Vought American that manages all the superheroes. A buddy of mine once told me that he could never get into this series because of Ennis's complete distrust and hatred of superheroes. How just superheroes here are just no good at all. They will just, and even the ones that are good are just played as complete retards. And I'm not gonna. That's how they're portrayed in the series. Go read Volume 8, The Innocents. You'll see what I mean. But the thing is, in the world of the boys, the corporation, Vought American, they're the ones that control all the superheroes. They've got the secret chemical compound that they're experimenting on in order to create new and interesting variants on superhero formula. But it's they are all out to make money and also to make these superheroes as and to push superheroes into the line of national events, because that's where the real money is. Now, with Vought American, Ennis does a lot of his most interesting stuff here. It's with what he's done before, it's Ennis hasn't really, with his previous series, Ennis doesn't really necessarily need for world building, but he does that here. And showing what Vought American does over the years, how they were, they were initially, they're kind of the lowest bidder in terms of, military tech, and they eventually bid them on the an entire company of people was wiped out and their heads put on their weapons in Vietnam. And this shows a credible world where this company lucked into this superlative tech. They found a neat their niche, and that's seen in Volume 3. And then we get the mirror image in Volume 9, where we get with Barbary Coast, where we find out we see the story of the CIA's struggle through Greg Mallory, one of the original members of the boys, who eventually quit after his granddaughters were killed in the conflict. But so it portrays the company as and after all we've seen throughout the corporate American greed over the years, how it's manifested in our financial meltdown. It's not hard at all to see, Vought American's actions, how they'll just employ psychopaths and pedophiles, and just go, oh, it's even this guy's a pedophile, he's still making money for us, but oh no, he's become too unstable, and we've got to go ahead and liquidate him, put him through fire. So. And that's manifested through Jasper Stillwell, who is the ultimate corporate personification of the corporation, who pops up over the course of the series, and he's just kind of just this utterly implacable character who just says, I'm here to make money and to just I'm here to see our corporation through the worst times and just do damage control and employ the most efficient fall agents possible when things go bad. It's on one hand, he is the most hateable character in this series, in the sense that hey, he's in the final issue, he basically goes and says, hey, when you people say, hey, when corporate America goes, "Hey, so sue us." That's me. So it's just like it's fascinating and scary to see how well Ennis nails this like this culture of corporate greed and indifference with Vought American. It's like I said, it's more than a little frightening, but at the same time, it's like seeing how even at the very end, it's like he only allows us the barest minimum of Schadenfreude when we see what overall it's like the business with Vought American is it's frightening, it's a bit scary, and it's like it's still a point to the series, and also proof that how far Ennis can, like I said, how Ennis can just dig up worthwhile material over through all this filth, and it's like, and in the end though, it's like I said, the boys, as I thought it was worth entertaining, worth enduring. It's like if you're not one of the, if you're not a big fan of the, it's like of Ennis's propensities towards sex and violence. But I do want to address one other thing though, is that Volume 4, We Gotta Go Now, it has Ennis's take on the G-Men, and I've mentioned before in previous about how it kind of implies that it's probably it ranks one of the worst things I think that Ennis has written, in the sense that I feel like a good chunk of it basically he's asking us to find child abuse funny, and it's like rereading it again after all these years, I have to admit that it comes off now that I know what the it's like what he was going for here, but still it's kind of like it's like I don't know, it's like all you need to know for Ron, like the X-Men are, it's like the G-Men are utterly disgusting, and that Vought American will eventually go and clean up itself, clean up its own messes at any other time. So, but other than that, it's like I also want to talk about the artistic merits of the series, because while this was originally meant to be Ennis's long-term collaboration with Derek Robertson, who's best known for illustrating Warren Ellis's Transmetropolitan, that didn't quite work out because while it would have worked out perfectly had the series remained at DC, because Robertson had an exclusive contract with them. Unfortunately, after the series left DC and went to Dynamite, Robertson found himself having to split his time between his DC projects and the boys, and that really shows over the course of the series, because parts of it, especially the first volume, are illustrated really well. It's got Robertson's great talent for caricature and facial expression, which is kind of the same thing. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, but it's, like I said, it looks great, but then as the series goes on, you can see that Robertson really was pressed for time doing a lot of this stuff, and that we necessitated bringing in a lot of fill-in artists like Peter Stensberg, Carlos Esquera, John McCree, and eventually necessitated a full-time replacement in the term of Russ Braun. Braun took over in Volume 8 with the story Believe, and he's actually got and even though he doesn't have the same level of detail and richness of character that Robertson brings to his work, he still maintains a good amount of stylistic consistency and manages to and he keeps the same level of artistic quality that you'd expect from the series. Robertson does return for the final issue, which works as a nice bookend, as well as the Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker origin story of Butcher in Volume 10. That looks fantastic. But like I said, overall, it's like the series is kind of uneven visually. It's still, like I said, it still hangs on pretty well. So overall, final word on the boys. Like I said, it's the least of all of Ennis's ongoing series, but it's even then. You just have to admire the fact that for someone like him, there was still that even though he was plowing right into utter self-indulgence as far as just showing how he thinks superheroes suck, he was still able to bring out some worthwhile characterizations and social commentary as well. So, and it's you may see this pop up on my best of list for 2012, but we'll see about that. John, any thoughts?
We will see about that. That's my thought.
Yeah.
No, you said it was uncharacteristically violent for a series done by him?
It's more extreme than anything else. While the sex and those in and this is more and more going to push levels of violence than anything else. It's like this one. I wouldn't say it's not necessarily uncharacteristic. It's just more excessive than anything else. Like you get the feeling that this is more like, hey, I
can indulgent of him.
Yes, I can go ahead and do. I couldn't do this before with Marvel and DC, but I can do this now. Sometimes I'll just go ahead and do it anyway. So that's what I get. That's a lot of the thing I get with a lot of stuff that we see in this series.
Well, interesting indeed. Well, if you want to see how authors really want to write, you have to go outside the label.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah, it sounds fascinating for sure. So, do you know what you're going to be talking about next week, though?
Well, let's see. Assuming my room has been reconstructed properly, I will probably go ahead and be getting to the best of 2012.
Ooh, sweet.
If not, then I will find something hopefully just as interesting.
Yes, you always do manage to come up with something interesting. So, all right. Until then, we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, laters, everyone.
Night.